Gold and Black Live. And we don't like to gush here, though. It's when Brian Cardinal comes by, it's always extra fun because he always has something interesting to say. And he's been there. I mean, the guy has been a lot of different places in the world of sports. That's what makes it fun.
Yeah, hey, just one thing real quick. So wanted to say hello to my niece, Charlotte, who apparently is watching us on phone. Right. Charlotte may or may not know yet that I'm not a bear, but she's watching, so I just want to say hello. I'm sorry, what was your question?
No, Charlotte, welcome to the show. And if you'd like to ask your uncle a question, by all means do that. And the fact that Gordon and the group at WLFI have done a great job of getting this program where you can watch it on your phone, it still amazes us mid-50s guys that can happen. But no, I was gushing. I was doing what I said I wasn't going to do and gush about Brian Cardinal, but I just appreciate the fact that this is a guy, and he really does. That's one thing I was going to say, that without embarrassing him, he literally comes in. Brian Newbert's already working for an hour by the time I walk into the basketball arena, or he's worked for an hour and a half. But I come in 10 minutes before the game, and Brian Cardinal will literally stand up there on the concourse and just hang out and let people just come to him. And I think that's, if you're a Purdue supporter, that's worth its weight to be able to talk to a guy that's really honest and fun.
There is no better representative for Purdue, no better personality for that job either. You will not run into guys who are much more engaging, much more personal, at the risk of sounding awkward here, much more charming.
Yes.
He's a great guy. I mean, a really good guy, and Purdue is fortunate to have him on its side.
You know, we were talking about, because it produced, since the Drew Brees, the transition, I guess you'd say, Drew Brees was the post-player face, the alumni face of Purdue athletics until Drew blew up into this national icon to some extent. But you know, you have a Brian Cardinal, you have a Ryan Kerrigan either, who's going to be back this weekend as well. Guys that just can't be better, and that's a good thing for Purdue athletics. And there are many other examples as well. All right, Brian. Obviously, after tomorrow, you've got, tonight, Purdue Carroll exhibition. It is interesting because we've talked a little bit about Carson Cunningham, but after watching it, and I read your blog carefully and take it to heart about not being overly excited. Don't get too excited about what you see. But what's another thing you might want to see tonight in the second game of this exhibition?
I actually don't want to completely dismiss the value of exhibition games, because one thing exhibitions are good for, obviously it's a competitive mismatch, but what they are good for is to illustrate the mentality of a team, how a team's going to play. And as Purdue tries to get back to what Purdue's supposed to be, those are the first steps.
Yeah,
and what you saw on Sunday, or whatever day it was, you saw a team that plays how it needs to play. You saw a lot of selfless guys. You saw guys who are willing to share the ball, who embrace their roles to the fullest extent, who understand priorities, who want to get the ball inside, who want to try hard on defense. And that was the real takeaway from that first exhibition game. In addition to preseason practices, preseason scrimmages, this is really more of a Purdue style of team. This is more of a team like what you need to see from Purdue this season relative to what you saw the last two seasons.
You know, and one of the things that's fun about these games, too, is to watch and of course, this team may be a cast of 11, 12 guys, or 11 guys, I guess it would be, that are going to play, but the Jaquil Taylors of the world, again, a guy that you can kind of watch and evaluate and say, well, where does he fit in? You've had that question, but he's been impressive. He's an impressive guy physically. He seems to me to be impressive in terms of if you do want to go zone some, and he's long. What do you see out of him to date, and are they closer, do you think, of finding a spot for him, or is there any chance? I know he could still redshirt in theory, but he's not. I don't think there's any chance he's going to do that at this point.
Yeah, I don't know if I would
totally dismiss that.
Because
entirely. He could still play tonight and do that, correct?
The thing for Taylor, yes, he can play in the exhibitions and he can still redshirt. The thing for Taylor is that he's not really a 5 because he's not as big and strong as Purdue's other 5s, which basically you could say about 99% of the teams in the country, because A.J. Hammonds and Isaac Haas are two absolute specimens. So he's not really a 5, and if he was, you've got two guys who are going to play the lion's share of the minutes. From a playing the 4 perspective, Purdue has some other things, and I don't know if that's the best matchup for him from a man-to-man defensive perspective. Purdue could play zone with him at the 4. He can cover a lot of ground with his length and athleticism. But if Purdue's going to play zone with two bigs on the floor, they experimented early on in the season with playing Haas and Hammonds side by side. They didn't do that in the first exhibition. I don't think it's going to be a big part of what they do. But if you're going to take offensive skill off the floor at the 4, I would think that you would do it to accommodate the two centers at the same time. So I'm not really sure where Taylor fits in at this point. He was hurt in high school. He hurt his foot. He fractured his foot. It really hindered him in high school. It cost him his junior year.
Yeah.
It's probably the reason he's at Purdue. He might be somewhere else if he hadn't gotten hurt. It hindered him in high school, cost him his junior year, lingered into his senior year. I was asking him about it the other day. He still feels like sometimes it hurts. Doesn't seem to hold him back very much. He's really trying hard. Purdue has really liked his effort.
Yeah.
So that would seem to speak to health. But if he has any health issues whatsoever, you don't know where he fits in. You're not really sure what role he can play from a positional standpoint. It would certainly make all the sense in the world to preserve that year, especially for a guy who, from a physical standpoint, can really gain from an extra year of size and strength, or strength and conditioning training, because that's where he's lacking right now. He came in at 206 pounds, over 6'10". That's not ideal.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's up to 220 right now, so he's already made huge gains. But when you look at him, you look at his body type, it would seem to me like he needs to get. I hate just arbitrarily pulling out weight numbers.
Yeah.
But if he gets up to 235, 240, and still maintains that athleticism with his height and length, and some of the surprising skill he's shown from a ball moving capacity, from a jump shooting capacity, I really think he could be something.
Yeah, and he does pass the eyeball test. If you had a chance to watch the first exhibition game and some of the scrimmages too, he does. He looks the part, but it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Big recruiting weekend, and we only have a couple minutes left, Brian. But
did I talk that long about Shaquille Taylor?
No,
we sucked up the whole segment.
No, but we didn't start. We went along with Brian Cardinal. Probably it's not on you, but the
I was kidding.
Football this weekend, obviously the Michigan commitment in town, and also what else do you see? I mean, it's a noon start. There's a couple official visitors, as I understand, too. So
Yep.
What about those?
Willie Sykes is a defensive back from Texas making his official visit, pretty much down to Minnesota, Purdue, Oregon State. I don't think there's any possibility he commits this weekend because he really wants to see Oregon State and claims he's wide open. Kids say that all the time. Doesn't always mean it's true. So you never know what happens if the visit goes really well. Interesting with him, he knows Andy Chelf and
Purdue's commit out of Texas.
Isaac Warren,
Yeah.
the other two DB commits, are both from Texas. Power of social media these days, these kids all know each other. So I think that's going to help Purdue with him, but obviously they have to do a good job on the visit this weekend. The other one is Brian Cole. You mentioned him. A lot of people have him as the #1 athlete recruit in the country, probably a wide receiver or safety, one or the other. He's already committed to Michigan, but obviously there's a lot of issues at Michigan right now. He's looking around. Michigan State will be all over him. Ohio State will be all over him. Notre Dame. I know he's going to visit Nebraska. He already visited Wisconsin. Purdue's in on him because his trainer is Stu Schweigert, who also went to Saginaw Heritage, where Cole goes. So probably a long shot guy there considering the competition, but it's certainly encouraging they're getting him on campus. A number of important unofficial visits this weekend. Andrew Wood, the offensive lineman from Tennessee, one of Purdue's longest standing offensive line targets, probably its highest profile uncommitted offensive line targets, is coming up for an unofficial. He'll come back in December for an official. So he's going to visit Purdue twice after already being here in the summer. So that's certainly encouraging. There's a possibility some guys who are committed to other schools are going to be on campus on Saturday, including Jacob Robinson, who's committed to Indiana, the defensive lineman who Purdue would very much like to flip. If he shows up on campus, that's a pretty good sign that he's going to be open to being recruited by Purdue, and that would be good news for Purdue. Adam Solomon, I have no idea if he's coming or not, but obviously the coaching instability at Illinois, where he's committed, certainly suggests that one might become an open case again, and Purdue would at least inquire about him. I've heard rumors he might visit this weekend. I don't have that confirmed, but that's certainly one to watch. Once you get to this time of year, the coaching carousel always shakes a few more apples off the trees, and I think that could go a long way in determining how Purdue's class shakes out, because there's a number of guys Purdue would like to recruit that could be impacted by some coaching instability elsewhere. In addition to the fact Purdue is, like everyone does nowadays, is going to keep recruiting some guys committed to other schools.
All right, well, there's more on the site on football recruiting and basketball visits as well this weekend. We are out of time, but we appreciate you all hanging around. If you missed our other segments, we will have them online around dinner time. Brian Cardinal is definitely worth another look, as he was terrific today as well. So we want to thank Brian. We want to thank Gordon Jackson and Baron Brendel. Baron, we appreciate all your efforts as well. And, of course, our sponsors, Triple X and John Basham and the folks at Basham Rental, Hilton Garden Inn, and Christy Kuntz. We appreciate all of you as well. We will be off next week, and then in 2 weeks we will have a special guest. Purdue President Mitch Daniels will be joining us, among others, and we'll look forward to that 2 weeks from today, as the Boilermakers have an off week next week prior to the Northwestern game on November the 22nd. So have a good couple of weeks, everybody. Thank you all for joining us, and we'll look forward to seeing you 2 weeks from now on Gold and Black Live.